All right, so good afternoon to everyone out there. It's my pleasure and delight to be live on stream again this afternoon. And for those who have always joined, you know that at a time like this, we've always had the privilege to talk about leadership and all the issues surrounding leadership. Now, today, for the very first time, I'm having a guest with me, and this guest is a friend and has been a friend for quite a while. Incidentally, uh, those days in school, we used to call her a nickname which she didn't know of because of a famous psychologist, and I won't call that name now, even though I see that you're already smiling. So, this is an opportunity to learn more about emotional intelligence, and I thought, well, I could have read about it and probably come up to mumble and jumble as it were. But I thought to get an expert and to get someone here from her field of study and enlighten our hearts today. She used to be Victoria Edwards, now she's Victoria Dow, based in Benue State, Macaulay to be precise. She's married, just in case there are those online who are thinking, and she's blessed with kids also. That is interesting. You'd also want to know that she's a pastor and what again, a friend to the house. So I would welcome everyone and thank you for joining us. And I'll just open the floor and allow Victoria to take charge even at this point. So Victoria, you're welcome. There are people online waiting to meet you. Thank you. And I hope that's a clear introduction.
It is, but just like I feared, my light source just blinked off. It's back on and it's blinking again. But I'm sure something will be done about it. It's still blinking. Okay,
Okay.
my name is Victoria, and I'm a psychologist. I am a trainer.
All right. Those are some of the occurrences that we see from time to time.
Uh,
It's happening.
and for me, this is a great
Okay.
opportunity to talk about.
All right. Sorry, obviously, Victoria, it seems you're having a challenge with your power source.
Hello,
Uh, yeah, we're with you.
hello.
We're with you. Can you hear me, Victoria?
Hello, can you hear me?
Very
Can you hear
well.
me?
I can hear
Okay,
you
sorry
clearly.
about that. I think it's
Yes,
one
I
of
can.
the issues we have with live broadcasts in Nigeria. But I think my power source is more stable now, and we can go on. So, like I was saying, I'm a psychologist, and today we're going to be talking about emotional intelligence. I I hope we can link it to leadership, but for now, we'll be talking about emotional intelligence, giving a general overview of what emotional intelligence is and why it is important for us as individuals to have some emotional intelligence. Sometimes people are more concerned with just being intelligent. But like we say in today's world, uh, you can get a job by being intelligent, but you can only keep that job by having some emotional intelligence. And what is this emotional intelligence? That's what we'll be talking about today. Due to some technical issues we're having, I'll be working with Shadrach. So Shadrach will be running some things from his end while I run some from my end. So Shadrach, could you please add the slide so we can proceed?
All right. Okay, so the first slide should be on now. Can you see the slide?
Yes, I can see it. Let's
Okay.
just go straight to the next one because I've given that introduction. So
Okay.
let's go to the next one on what emotional intelligence is all about. Okay,
Okay.
fine. So I hope this is clear enough for everybody. The question is, what is emotional intelligence? Simply put, it's the ability to recognize your emotions as well as the emotions of others. It's also the ability to regulate your behavior based on the knowledge you have of other people's behavior. It is understanding that emotions have a very powerful effect and then you use this information to guide thinking. You see, when we say emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize your emotions as well as the emotions of others, people have given that definition before, and people say, what do you mean by recognizing my emotions as well as the emotions of others? Simply put, it means that at any particular time, point in time, you should be able to say categorically how you are feeling and also perceive accurately how the other person is feeling. It might surprise you to note that there are people who cannot explain how they are feeling. I'm sure you've met people whom you ask, okay, how are you feeling now? And they say, I don't even know. I don't know how I feel. I don't know what is happening. But it's the ability to recognize what you are feeling at a particular time and what you think whoever you're relating with is feeling at that time. Then, with that information, you're able to regulate your behavior based on what that other person is feeling. Let me give a simple example. If I'm talking to someone and the person is angry already and has said words that have a tendency to get me angry and I'm beginning to feel angry, I recognize that my temper is rising because that other person is angry and I decide that I'm not going to react to what the person is doing, but I'll respond. And how do I respond? I respond by regulating my own behavior. Both of us are not going to get angry at the same time. Shadrach, I'll need you to nod periodically so that I know I'm still online and it's clear.
All right. You're quite clear. I'm
Am
listening
I clear?
very well. I'm paying all attention. In fact, that's why
Can you hear me?
probably I'm not. Yes, I can.
Oh, okay, fine. That's what I just wanted to be sure that I'm still live. Okay. And then once
All
you're able to regulate your behavior, then your reactions are purely based on you, not on what people do. It doesn't matter who does what or how the other person acts. Everything depends on you. Because there's one thing you need to understand. You cannot control other people's behavior, but you can control your own behavior and how you respond to issues around you. That is the I expect that as we go along today in this course, we get a small understanding of what we ought to do. We also need to understand that emotions are very powerful. A lot of times, people don't appreciate the strength of emotions. You could hear someone say, that person is angry, and you say to help
All right, again, issues with the network. I'm sure Dr. Beat is still with us, but we were saying that there's a bit of a challenge with our network. So we just hope that in the next few seconds, he's able to come on live to join us. But just before she goes, I already have a comment from Cynthia Charles, all the way from, are you in Sweden now or back to your days as a student? And she says, so sad I missed the last training on Saturday. I would love to join the next one. I'm a psychologist in training too on my way to work now, but I'll watch for as long as I can. God bless you, sir, for all your efforts. I see your passion for the youth. Thank you, Cynthia. Now, this is from Cynthia, and I would just recommend or suggest that if you have comments, if you have thoughts, if you have questions for Dr. Victoria, please just send them across. I'll, I'll get Dr. Victoria across once the line is clear. But we're talking about emotional intelligence today, and it will just seem that it is quite important that we take this very seriously. So please bear with us. If you have questions already from what she said, if you just send in the questions and we will do well to get her to respond to the question. So thank you so much. Usman sounds bad. Is there any other one who has an issue with the
Am I
sound?
back on?
Please just indicate. Yes, you are back on, Dr. Vic.
Hello.
Yes, you are back on. You are on. We can see you. We can hear you now.
Okay, I changed my source of
Okay.
data. I hope this works now. Okay,
All right.
you see me clearly, right? Let's go to the
Yes, we do.
next slide, please.
Okay. Um, all right.
Okay, life is 10% of what happens to me and 90% of how I react. Right? That's what Charles Swindoll said. And this is just to buttress the fact of what I was talking about. Most times we react to issues instead of responding. Those are two different things. We react is usually a first impulse thing. What comes to our mind, we just, you know, do it. But when you respond, you have taken time to understand what the situation around you might be and give a better response, something you think can quell if there was going to be any trouble or any fight. Let me put it that way. And for those of us that are Christians, the Bible says that a soft answer turns away wrath. And a soft answer only comes when you respond and not when you react. So let's see the next slide, Shadrach.
Okay.
But I'd want us to keep this in mind that life is 10% of what happens, but 90% of how we react. Now, it is said, research has shown that every 9 out of 10 high performers and achievers have high emotional intelligence. So you can count them. And I hope you know that emotional intelligence can be measured too. There are tests to measure it. Just the way we measure intelligence quotient, we measure emotional intelligence quotient. So the higher your emotional intelligence quotient, the higher and the more likely you are to succeed in whatever endeavor you're carrying out. Next slide, please. All these are preambles, so I don't want to dwell on preambles. Okay, simply put, someone might be asking out there, how do I know that I'm emotionally intelligent? How? How do I know that I have this intelligence? Well, everybody is born with the ability to be emotionally intelligent, but you see, it is how you groom it, how you develop it, how you try to be better. That is what determines how your emotional intelligence, how high you can be rated. So, number one, you need to know what, if you're able to state what you are feeling, what your emotions mean, how they affect other people, and most importantly, if you can handle criticism without denial, blame, or excuses. I had said earlier that when you find people who cannot explain how they are feeling, it's a problem. Thank you, Daniel. I see that. If you cannot explain how you are feeling, it's a problem. How am I feeling? I ask people, okay, how does this make you feel? And they say, I don't even know. Just anyhow. I just feel somehow. Somehow is not a feeling. You need to be able to tell me whether you're sad, you're angry, you're happy, you're frustrated, you're excited. So being able to do that shows some level of emotional intelligence. Remember that you have to, it's all about you. It's not about people first and foremost. It's understanding who you are, what those emotions mean. What do those emotions mean? Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, your line seems to have broken a bit, but we can hear you now.
Okay. So, uh, how do my emotions affect other people? How do my own emotions affect other people? Sometimes we don't care. We act as if it doesn't matter what people, how people are feeling. We just go ahead and do the things we do. I've been a victim of this several times. I can lash out at people without thinking about how they are feeling, and that is not a good thing. It costs you relationship, it costs you friendship, it costs you uh, uh, time, because you end up having to build relationships again. You have to try and get people happy again. You have to explain your actions, and that's because you didn't take into consideration how your reaction has affected other people. Now, are you able to handle criticism without denial, blame, or excusing? It takes a lot of emotional intelligence to be quiet and listen objectively to what the feedback someone else is giving to you. If someone is giving you feedback, the first thing shouldn't be to react and deny or blame or give excuses. You should calm down and listen objectively to know whether what the person is saying is true. If you listen objectively without judging and without trying to blame anybody or to give excuses, you find out that you make more, you have a clearer judgment of yourself. So let's go to the next slide, Shadrach. Shadrach, please go to the next slide.
All right, I can. I'm there already. I'm there with the
Okay,
next slide
fine.
already.
You also need to be open minded. You have to be a good listener. Open minded in the sense that you need to think broadly. Life does not revolve around you. Life is not all about you. Life is not all about the way you think, your religion, your faith, your beliefs, your tribe, your ethnic group. Life is not all about that. The world is a large place, and so there are many people and many other thought patterns involved. You should be a good listener, because when you are a good listener with an open mind, you learn a lot. You learn more. You learn plenty just from hearing what other people think and how other people view things. You can only do that if you listen carefully and you listen with an open mind. You need to give people time to express themselves too and not shut them down. I know that after this overview, maybe sometime next week or when Shedrack invites me again, we can do a link between emotional intelligence and leadership. If as a leader you're always shouting down on people, you don't get the views of other people to do things, you have a tendency not to achieve much because the emotions are a very strong factor. Remember we said that at the beginning, emotions are a very powerful aspect of our human endeavors. Now, you someone with high EI does not sugarcoat the truth, but does not speak without considering the emotions of others. We've talked a lot about that, so I don't want to dwell on it. Emotional intelligence is not telling a lazy staff that the staff is hardworking. That's not emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence would be telling a lazy staff that the person can do better than what he or she is doing at that time. That way, I've not come out to just tell you you are lazy, which could be very discouraging. But instead, I've spoken positive words to tell you you have what it takes to be better. So, emotional intelligence helps you choose your word properly. Now, people who are who have high emotional intelligence apologize easily when they are wrong, when they realize they are wrong. Now, I don't expect you to go about hurting people and asking them to apologize and telling them they don't have emotional intelligence because they are not apologizing. If someone is not wrong, the person will not apologize. Someone with high emotional intelligence apologizes once they realize they are wrong. My telling you sorry every time when I'm not wrong is not emotional intelligence. It's actually a sign that I might not be very emotionally intelligent. We'll see that as we go on. So, Shadrach, let's see the next slide, please. Signs of low emotional intelligence: no self awareness, no empathy. Shadrach, are you sure you didn't jump some slides?
No, I didn't.
Okay, fine. You are oblivious to your own emotions and the emotions of others. You blame people. You throw tantrums. Have you seen people who, once they are angry, they have to break things? They have to break the TV, break the windscreen, break the glasses, break the cups. It's a sign of very low emotional intelligence. People who are unwilling to learn, they're not open to change. They don't want to hear or learn new things. This is the way my father used to do it. This is the way my mother used to do it. That is the way they do it in my tribe. And so that is the way we will continue doing it. There are people like that. And when you meet people like that, you know their emotional intelligence is very low because you get better as you learn, as you open your mind to new things, you get better and better and better. There are people who don't have any empathy, they don't feel anything for anybody, they can't understand why you are crying or why you are laughing at a particular time. Everything has to revolve around them. They feel that the way they feel at that time should be the way every other person is feeling at that time. And as such, they are not able to relate properly. And such people are bad team players because sometimes everything they refuse to take blame for what they have done wrong. They blame it on another person. Where a whole team is called to order, you find people with low EI amongst them saying things like, it's not me, it is this other person. I could easily say the reason why my lights went off is Shadrach, not me. It's because Shadrach schedules the meeting for 1 p.m. when he knows I won't have lights in my office at 1 p.m. Instead of taking the blame and saying, oh, I know I usually don't have lights at 1 p.m. So I should have made an alternative arrangement for an alternative source of power supply and apologize for not doing that when I ought to do that. When you throw blames on other people, it shows that your emotional intelligence is quite low. We still have a lot to talk about. So, Shadrach, let's move on. We need to dwell on certain key points of emotional intelligence. But first, I need to point out that in the human brain, we have the rational part of the brain, and then we have the limbic system. This rational part is, as the name implies, it's rational. It's where logic dwells, right? It thinks straight. It knows what to do and when to do it. It knows how to react, when to react, and all that. And everybody has it. So please, nobody should leave this training saying that I said some people have one part of the brain and some people don't have the other. This rational part is where the cerebral cortex is located. I'm sure we've heard about that word. If you did biology, you'll be hearing cerebral cortex. It's the most advanced part of the brain. It is where you hear, you listen, you learn, and you act. Everything concerning that is in the rational part of your brain. It is the part of the brain that processes your thoughts, processes your actions, makes decisions. You understand? But the limbic system is the center of your emotions. What I'm trying to say is that the rational part of the brain does not work with emotions, it's emotionless. The limbic system is where our emotions are settled. Now, emotional intelligence is a balance between the two. That's why you find somebody talking to you and telling you are not being rational. Why? Because you are crying. You are just crying and saying the whole world has ended, your life has ended, you are going to die the next minute. Why doesn't death come now? And another person tells you you're not being rational. The person identifies that it is the limbic part of your brain that is working at that time. But emotional intelligence helps us to balance it. You balance it. It's a balance between being rational and understanding that there are emotions attached to our actions and helping us to respond better. I hope it is clear up to this point. I'm not trying to do a biology class, but I just want us to know that all of us have that capacity to raise their emotional intelligence, because anybody you admire and you feel has good control of himself or herself, it's because that person is also working on emotional intelligence. So let's move to the next slide, please. Can we move to the next slide? Okay, fine, thank you. Now, the 5 key components of emotional intelligence are self-awareness, self-regulation, empathy, self-motivation, and social skills. Can you hear me clearly? Shadrach, please nod. You are my link to the world, so I'll know that you
Yes,
can hear.
yes, I can.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Yes,
So,
I can.
self-awareness, self-regulation, and empathy, uh, and self-motivation and social skills. So let's start. Let's go straight to the next slide. Let's talk about self-awareness.
Okay.
Can we? Okay, self-awareness is the ability to recognize and understand your mood, emotions, and drive, and as well as their effect on other people. It's part of self-awareness. I've said a lot about that, so I don't want to dwell on it. Now, self-confidence is knowing what I can do and what I cannot do. Part of self-awareness is knowing that I can do this, I'm good at this, and I'm not good at this. I'm good at talking, I'm not good at listening. So I need to work on my listening skills. I'm good at painting, I'm not good at dancing. I'm good at whatever skill you can think about. You need to know what you can do. Self-awareness means that you've done a realistic self-assessment of yourself. Not the word realistic. a realistic self-assessment of yourself, being true to yourself, telling yourself the truth about yourself. If you do not, when people tell you this same truth, you will get angry. But once you know the truth about yourself, example, I'm dark skinned. I know I'm dark skinned. I'm a brown skinned girl. Let me put it like that. So if I say I'm dark skinned, at least I'm lighter than Shedrack. So if I say I'm dark skinned, I know that already is a realistic self-assessment of myself. If someone sees me tomorrow and says, look at her, black girl, I will laugh at the person because it's something I already know. It's not something I'm upset about. It's a realistic part of my life. And being able to have a sense of humor about your own shortcomings is part of self-awareness. Having a sense of humor about your own shortcomings. There's a young man I know who is not very tall. He was in the university, I think he was doing his master's at about the time I was doing my PhD. Very popular young man in Makodi. His name is Devlo, or that's his nickname. I don't really know his name up to today, but we call him Develop. I don't know how he got that name. Develop is not a tall man. He's very short, maybe waist high for me. But he's very self-aware, very, very self-aware. He has the confidence. He's an MC, an excellent one at that. He's a clinical psychologist, an excellent one. He's a father, a husband, and doing very well. Before you tell him he's short or he's a dwarf or anything, he has already told you that this short man here wants to talk to you. So you see, you don't intimidate him by pointing out his shortcomings. He has done a clear assessment of himself. And that is what is expected of everybody. For you to be self-aware, you must know yourself. When people tell you things about yourself, it should not shock you. It should be something you know. It should not shock you. You should instead, because maybe it's an unpleasant thing, it should just make you feel uncomfortable. But it's not that you don't know at all. Everybody, as you become an adult, you must do a self-assessment and be self-aware of everything that concerns you. Some you find as time goes on, but the basic things about you are things that you should know already. So that self-awareness. Shadrach, next slide, please. Time seems to fly.
Surely.
I'm waiting for you, Shadrach. Okay, self-regulation is the ability to manage your emotions in response to another person's emotions or actions. I said that earlier. The fact that someone slapped you does not mean you have to slap back. It just means you need to think about it. Why did this person slap me? And do I really want to slap this person back? Or should I just calm down and be a better person? I've seen doctors who get slapped by patients who have lost a loved one. Just by passing the information across, you receive a slap, the person just attacks you. A doctor who can regulate his or her emotions would know what to do, would calm down, even though that person is being aggressive. Understanding that the person is going through a phase, the person is going through pain at that moment, and does not mean what he or she is doing at that particular time. That is your ability to manage your own emotions and respond positively to what other people are doing. It is also the ability to control or redirect disruptive impulses and moods. Using the example of the doctor, if a patient who just lost a loved one attacks you as a doctor and you decide to attack back and slap the patient and ask the patient to leave your hospital, it just shows you don't know what you are doing. But if you're able to try to understand and calm the person down, you have redirected a disruptive impulse, because everybody's first reaction when attacked is to attack back. But you're able to redirect it because you have a better understanding of what the person is also going through. And then that helps. and it's the ability to think before acting. Sometimes we think without acting. You just do things anyhow, and then when we see the reaction, we feel bad because if we had thought about it, it's just like you walking into a room where we have persons with special needs, maybe persons who have one form of disability or the other, and you didn't think. You now make a joke about persons with disabilities, which obviously is in bad taste considering the audience, the people you have around. It's because you didn't think before taking that act. So emotional intelligence makes you very aware also of your environment and helps you to regulate how you respond. Next slide, please.
Dr. Vic,
Yes,
may I just interrupt to share a story of just an event that happened within this
okay,
weekend.
please
Just
go
as we
ahead.
talked
Please
about
go ahead.
self-awareness, all right, as we talked about self-awareness and self-regulation, it came back to mind. Just this weekend, the university group, all right, our university group on WhatsApp got in touch with some other classmates or coursemates that have been away from us for some time. Now, two of them were added to the group, and as one was welcomed, we knew him as a very short person. So one of us welcomed him by calling his name and saying, "Short man, you are welcome." Now the response from that guy was unbelievable. By that one word, he insulted the man's family completely and ended
Wow,
up insulting everybody in the group. In fact, the word he used was that he didn't know this was a bunch of buffons in the group, and then he exited from the group. In fact, that has
wow.
got us through the weekend up to date. And when you talk about self awareness and self regulation, it just comes to mind. I see that picture and I know that that man may need some help at some point.
Yes, he does need some help because he has been short for a long time. So it shouldn't be something that should offend him. And since it was a group of friends, and that's what he used to be called in those days, it wasn't something to get
Exactly.
upset about. But you see, because he has not accepted who he is and he has not
Mm,
concentrated on his own strengths, and he has not been able to have a sense of humor about his shortcomings. That is very key. You should be able to laugh off some things that you can't change about yourself, things you cannot handle, be able to make jokes about them. Eventually, they become things that people no longer notice about you. Why? Because your strengths far outweigh those little flaws. He might not be a tall man, but he might be a very intelligent person. And people would rather concentrate on his intelligence than the fact that he's not tall. So you see, thank you for sharing that. It's a very good example. And this
thank
happens
you.
in our everyday life. That's why I said emotional intelligence is something we need every day. Now, we're talking about empathy. It's the ability to understand the emotional makeup of other people, and then the ability to treat people according to their emotional reactions. You see, some we're all on a journey, and some people have been able to work on themselves, and others have not been able to. In the case of your friend now, and the way he reacted, I would expect that someone would have a private conversation with him and try to find out what upset him so much, and then make him understand that it wasn't that the group was trying to bring him down, but rather it was just for old time's sake. That private conversation can be done. There's no guarantee that he will understand, but on your part, you would have done what is expected to be done, to treat people according to their own emotional reaction, knowing that, and then next time moving forward, knowing that he's very touchy when it comes to his height, you avoid comments that are around people's height and talk about other things. So let's move to the next slide.
Okay, it's on.
A bit okay, self-motivation. I know that the first definition here, a lot of people will not like that. A passion to work for reasons that go beyond money or status. The reason why a lot of us are unhappy in Nigeria is because we're basically working for money and status. It's not about passion. But if you're lucky to be doing a job you love and yet getting paid for it, then you're one of the lucky ones. But passion drives a lot of things. Passion gives you the strength to rise, even when everything around you is pulling you down. Passion drives you to do the right thing. It wakes you up in the morning to go out even when it is raining. And it's self-motivation. It's an aspect of self-motivation. And people who are self-motivated pursue goals with energy and persistence. They have a strong drive to achieve, and they have optimism even in the face of failure. There are people who are the reverse. They are negative, pessimistic, even in the face of success. Let me give an example. You're watching a football match. One football team is 4 goals up, and you have 10 minutes to the end of the game. Please listen to me carefully. An optimist will say, I think a team that is 4 goals down can still make it. They can still make it. They still have time. That's what an optimist will do. A pessimist will tell you that if this team with 4 goals up can go down any moment from now. They are not concentrating on the other team scoring. They are concentrating on the fact that these ones will go down. So we can be talking about the same issues, but the way we approach it shows whether we are optimists or we're pessimists. An optimist will say, it might rain, but that does not stop us from doing what we want to do. And let's hope it doesn't, but let's prepare just in case it rains. Let's get our umbrella. It has been raining for 3 days straight now in Makodi, but that has not stopped people from going about their normal activities. But some people have stayed indoors, saying that the rain might develop to a flood, or the rain will give them malaria, or the rain will give them. You see, once your mind always thinks negatively, it's already creating excuses for failure. It's creating excuses for you not to do what you ought to do. And it might mean that your emotional intelligence is not very high and you need to work on it. Next slide. Now, social skills. Social skills. You should have expertise in building and leading others, ability to manage relationships and build relationships, ability to find common ground and build rapport. I want to dwell on that. There's always a common ground. There's one fundamental common ground with people, which is the fact that we are all human. We are all human. So that is one common ground that we all have. And then on that common ground, we can relate with each other first and foremost, that we're all human. So don't walk into a room and say, I don't have anything in common with anybody there. It's either you are an animal or you are a non-living thing. That's why you don't have anything in common. But as long as you are human, you have at least one thing in common, which is the fact that you all belong to the human race. So that is a place to start from. It's somewhere to start from. It should be effective in, I can't see that clearly now, change, leading change. Yes, it should be effective in leading change. And you should have the ability to resolve conflict. I need to point something out here to our listeners. When we're talking about resolving conflict, if you're able to resolve your intrapersonal conflict, that's conflict that's happening inside you. If you're able to resolve that, it becomes easier to resolve interpersonal, which is between you and someone else. Are you able to resolve your own conflict? The battles you're having in the mind, in your head, of whether to be who you are or to respond to what the world wants you to be, whether you should be your outspoken self, or whether you should be a recluse and stay indoors the way people want you to be. Whether you should be that pastor's wife that is very outgoing, is a businesswoman, is an entrepreneur, and doing so much, or you should just sit in one place because that's what people expect of you. Whether you should wear trousers or whether you should not, whether you should study law or whether you should study medicine, whether you should go into dancing or whether you should be a musician. All these battles that go on inside, if you're able to resolve them, it helps you to resolve conflict with other people. And when you're trying to build relationships with people, it's a very simple thing. Identify the things that people like and do them. Like one way is people's birthdays. Those are days to try and build a relationship with people. Giving people compliments helps you build relationships with them. A smile, as cheap and as inexpensive as it is, means a lot to a lot of people. A hug once in a while, or just reaching out to someone with a text message is part of building relationships. So nobody should say, I'm not very good at it. You have just not made an effort at it. And that's why you're where you are. You have to build your social skills, build your network. Shadrach, please, next slide. I can't see you. Shadrach, please, can I have the next slide?
It's on. Can you see it now?
I can't find Shadrach now. Shadrach, can I have the next slide, please?
I'm, yes, I'm here, and the slide is on.
How do I increase my emotional intelligence? You concentrate on the 5 major areas that we have talked about, and then you concentrate on the 5 major areas we talked about. Okay. Can I go on?
Yes,
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you clear.
Go
You are
on.
very clear.
Shadrach's
I can
network
hear you.
might be a bit slow, but I think others can hear me. Now,
Dr. B, can you hear me? All right, there's probably a situation with the network. I think your side is frozen, but mine is clear. I'm sure about that. So perhaps if you reconnect, we can get other persons, or where we can reconnect, and then we continue the conversation. But um, some intriguing questions are coming up in my mind, and I suppose that it's the same thing with others out there. So if you have questions that um, have been raised by the discussion on emotional intelligence, please do feel free to either type them in the chat column, all right? Get them in the chat column, get Dr. Vic to respond to this question as may be necessary. I think you're back on now, Dr.
yes,
V.
I am. I
If
apologize.
you are with me,
We've been
okay.
having so much rain, and I think that is affecting our data quality. So
Sure,
I was
sure,
talking about
sure,
working
sure.
on the area of self-awareness, self-regulation, self-motivation, empathy, and your social skills. It will help a lot. It will help us a lot to be better people. If I think next week Wednesday we'll be back here, and we'll be talking about how emotional intelligence works with leadership. How do we link emotional intelligence to leadership? I'm sure while we were talking, you're already seeing areas in your life, issues that you need to tackle, and areas it happens for everybody. There's nobody that will tell you that they did not have to work on certain things to become better individuals, or for their emotional quotient to rise. People have to work. It is an everyday thing. You have to develop yourself. But I would ask that before our next class next Wednesday, that we try to do the self-assessment I talked about. Take a book, take a biro, take a paper, and write about yourself. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are the things you like about yourself? What are the things you don't like? What are the skills you wish you had and the ones you have right now? Be very objective about it. And sometimes you can ask people who are very close to you to tell you who they think you are. What are the things about you they like and the ones they don't like? By the time they tell you, look at the assessment you've done about yourself. If you were very realistic, there will be a match. Most of the things they will say, you already know that about yourself. And if they are not there, you need to check whether the person is being honest, or you are the one trying to deny some facts about yourself. I think I need us to understand that we all, without exception, have flaws. Everybody is flawed one way or the other. But you don't concentrate on your flaws. You build on your strengths, and eventually your flaws begin to pale. They begin to pale. Why? Because your strengths are built. And when you look at your flaws, you can actually work them out. Someone might say being short is a flaw, but to someone, being tall is also a flaw, because being too tall has affected. I have gone for interviews where I was told that I am overqualified because they don't want someone with a PhD. So at that point, my PhD is a disadvantage, while there are places where it might be an advantage. So in life, there are times when you are up there and you are down there. We need to accept that that is the way the world plays out. But most importantly, you must be able to regulate how you respond to all these things you see around you. Remember what I said earlier on. Life is 10% of what happens to me and 90% of how I respond to the things that happen to me. If you concentrate on that, you have an easier life, and you have better relationship with people, and your emotional intelligence quotient will continue to rise. So I'd like to stop here for today. And I want to thank Shedrack. I want to give you some time to talk to your audience. Let me not take all the time. I want to thank you for this opportunity to speak to people and share on emotional intelligence. I hope I was able to raise uh, your consciousness about that aspect of life, because it's important for everything we do, whether you're a mother, daughter, sister, whoever you are. It's important we know about emotional intelligence. So once again, I say, Shadrach, thank you very much to the Born to Lead franchise for this opportunity to speak to people all over the world. I'm grateful, and I'll definitely come again if I'm invited. Thank you, Shadrach.
Thank you, Dr. Vicky. Just before you check out,
Okay.
while you were discussing, two issues came to mind, and I'll probably like to seek clarification from you concerning them. The first, when you talked
Okay.
about, again, I'm going back to self-awareness. When you talked about self-awareness, I see a number of people make a comparison of their own success or their own achievements with the achievement or success of other persons. Now, do you think that is appropriate? Um, because if I'm self-aware, should I be concerned about how others succeed or how I fail, or how should I respond to life in that respect? So that's the first
Okay,
aspect.
we two people can have goals, uh,
Okay.
but the intentions behind the two goals might be different. We can't
Mm.
really we can't assess ourselves based on other people, because
Okay.
the antecedents around us are different. What I consider success might not be what you consider success. For me, success might mean having food to eat, being able to pay hospital bills, or having a source that whenever I'm in need, I can solve my problems. For me, that might be success. For another person, success might mean having at least 1 billion naira in his account, because there are people who have way more than that in their account. So if success for you is 1 billion and for me it is 1 million, you cannot look at me when I already have my 1 million and tell me I'm not successful. For me, I am successful. I will look at you and I cannot also tell you you are not successful, because we all have different goals in life. And for those of us who are Christians, the Bible says that it is unwise. They that compare themselves to each other are not wise, because even the environment in which we operate is different. And so the challenges we face are different. Your only competition should be you. Are you a better version of who you were last year? If you are a better version, it means you're moving forward. Are you a better version than who you were while you were in the university? If you do that self-assessment and your answer is yes, then you are moving forward. Success is not a place, it's a journey. Success is not a place. It's never
Sure.
enough. It's a journey. I hope I've answered that at least.
All right. Thank you for that response. And so it leads me to the next question. Okay. You have spoken at some length about the difference between reaction and response, but I just needed some bit of clarity. I think I didn't get it clearly. So I
Yes.
just need some clarity. What is reaction? What is response?
Okay, in simple terms, we
Yeah,
hear in science every action has an equal and opposite reaction. But emotional
yeah.
intelligence, that's not how it is.
Okay.
Reaction is giving you what you deserve for what you have done.
Yeah.
You slap
Okay.
me, I slap you back. You insult me, I insult you. You kick me, I kick you. But
Okay.
response is all encompassing. I have thought about how you are behaving. I've thought about how I want to be perceived. I have thought about what I should do to to reduce the tension, and in the end make myself the bigger person. And so
Okay.
when I put all that together, I think of what to do. It is not equal. It can be an opposite reaction, like Science said, but it is not equal. So I think about reacting without usually reacting thing that you do is like an involuntary response to an action, but response has taken time. You have thought through, and then you are reacting based on all the things you have put in your mind, the considerations you have taken before you respond.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Vic. And I thank you for ending on the point of response. So this is the only reason why I'm not reacting to the fact that you think I'm darker than yourself. But I would allow that be. I've thought through all the factors. I will not. I will not react. It's been lovely having you on this segment for the last 1 hour thereabouts. It's been a very pleasant time. And I'm sure that those who are I've followed Born to Lead. I've learned so much from the things that you said. Now, we have an agreement for you to appear also on Wednesday at 1 p.m. next week. I'll just do hope that you keep the date, and then we'll tie it off. We tie emotional intelligence off with
Okay.
leadership and see how it takes us and how far it takes us. Thank you so much, Dr. Vic, for I keep calling you Dr. Vic because this is an official line. So
Thank
I want to
you.
keep it that way. All right. So see you next week
Thank you.
Wednesday. And to the guests online,
Thank you very much.
thank you for spending your time with us. Thank you for sharing your time with us. It's been a very pleasant time, and we would like to call it a day at this point. Keep a date with us next week, Wednesday at 1 p.m., where my friend, sister, and colleagues also in this regard will join us next week, Wednesday, to speak more on emotional intelligence and leadership. Thank you and have a good day. See you later, or we hear you later, Dr. Vic. So, bye to everyone. We're going off right now. Have a wonderful week ahead of you. Thank you.